I just wanted to do this trial recording because I'm not actually at home in a position to do it now, but I've been online and speaking to a lot of people about the difference between a gold standard and the way we make money, whether it's actually necessary to back your currency in gold, whether there's a relationship between how underpriced gold is at the moment, and the need to actually create state-owned money and back it in gold. I speak about a lot of both, and I've just noticed that there's a massive, huge misunderstanding in this process. Just because gold is the best form of money and it's the best check and balance that you can impose on any form of currency to prevent, printing it out of control and keeping some form of legitimacy to it. You can't really top gold. Silver is another option. But if you don't have the gold reserves, or if you have to transfer the gold reserves into holding for those purposes and take them out of other systems of money, you can actually take away from the wealth of the state. You can actually end up putting yourself in exactly the position you were in by having the money, having to acquire the gold, but just for the purposes of checks and balances isn't really a solution. You can print money out of nothing. The secret to not being enslaved isn't really the whether or not you print the money out of nothing or not. It's whether you print it out of nothing and you are immediately indebted to a private banking institution, to some faceless banking institution. And every central bank in the world is set up this way, it's just taken for granted. But every other branch of government, whether it is legislature, enforcing the law, or passing laws, or anything, really, is supposed to be accountable to the people. It's supposed to be, there's supposed to be democracy, this is why you have it. In those fields, if you saw some private institutions having control over your laws or your prisons, or it's a whole other discussion we can get into. It actually exists already in some forms, more subtly, but as it stands on paper, as far as most people are aware, it's not something to be proud about. This whole, the central bank is independent and we aren't accountable to government, just to Congress and to various other lame duck institutions. They cleverly sort of ride on this, but we're supposed to be accountable to the voter, and all the branches, all monetary policy, foreign policy, and local legislature, local civil issues, are all supposed to be, at some level, either bound to the Constitution or to the voting public. There should be referendums, there should be elections, and there should be constitutional, enforced constitutions to prevent some independent body gaining control out of those processes. Those processes have been specifically set up to define a democracy. So once you start bragging about the independence of some group of a monetary production, you've just confessed that you no longer have a democracy, and there's no way around it. That is precisely the definition of democracy. It's accountability to the electorate, to the Constitution. So this is the situation. Usury basically involves printing the money with no accountability to anyone, not using it for state and civil services, but probably injecting into the markets, giving it to the big banks, bailing out the big banks, using money you've just created, quantitative easing, or tax money, or giving it straight back to the banks again, who have basically put themselves in a position where they have gone insolvent with taxpayers' money and savings, and you are now creating money at interest to the banks to bail the banks out, in addition to the tax that already goes to helping the bank out for having lost the taxpayers' money in the first place. It's the fractional reserve system, or gearing or leveraging, depends on whether you look at it at a central bank level, on the quantitative easing production of new money, or on the loans brought onto the balance sheet that is later destroyed when it's paid back. If it's a debt-based loan from commercial banks, gearing, leveraging, fractional reserve, whichever form it takes, that gearing, that's a fundamental flaw. If the reserve banks had the reserves, no banks would fail. The definition of failure is not having the reserves, basically. and that allows a central bank to contract and inflate a money supply and cause a boom and a bust. I mean, this is it. A very simple situation. So, gold's not required for that purpose. And yes, it is the best form of money. It is the best way to ensure that it can be used and should be used where it could be. But it's a separate issue. The fact that gold has been undervalued on the comics market and various other institutions to protect the status quo, that may be so, but we don't to require every nation to then purchase enough gold to back its currency and money is going to put them right back to square one, and this is actually something that I can't see a reason for needing to happen. Specifically, not at the moment. There's no gold standard, so to going from money from nothing for usury and in an undemocratic way to money for nothing for the state, sovereign money supply for the people by the people, that's a huge step forward. Backing it in gold, fantastic. But I mean, that's 10% of the deal. So, it's not worth banging the gold drum if it's going to interfere with freedom. And every problem in the world, whether it's poverty in the third world, the declining middle class in the Western countries, war in the Eastern countries, pollution, environmental issues, there's only one issue. None of those issues, all of those issues are basically as a result of the fact that states don't create their own money. That is the one issue. If you care about any of those issues, you can address them, absent of trying to stop a state from printing its own money, but you're not going to be able to, because the proviso, the mechanism through which you can achieve any of these goals can only be achieved once you've actually undone the state's ability to print its own money. And I'll get to that the next time. Thank you.